burrito is a sandwich. Would you like a sandwich? Would you like a sandwich?
No, is that a sandwich? A stuffed cookie. It's an Oreo.
Oh, it's got like all
Folks
the votes.
think it's a sandwich.
This is not an Oreo.
It is not a sandwich.
Heads or tails? You catch it?
Oh,
Ready?
do I get to eat it?
Ready?
Heads.
You have to catch it.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah. Mine. Okay. Best cookie ever. Yeah. Okay. Folks are still coming in, so we can still talk about the controversy. Lasagna. Not a sandwich. Well, ish.
Lasagna is
Taco.
more of a sandwich than a burrito?
More than a taco?
No. Shut it down. There'll be no more voting until there's correct voting.
That's wonderful.
That was a mild coup de les bois. I
Wow.
love that song. That's very good.
Burrito and taco. Maybe, yeah? Okay. Okay.
So underneath us, for the asynchronous viewers, is the link to the video that we were just listening to. It's only got 340 views, so
Up
go
the
watch
views,
it.
yeah.
Go watch it later.
Yeah,
Get
yeah.
it to 1 million.
That would be great.
I haven't clearly a really razor sharp understanding of how YouTube works.
And how things go viral.
Get it to 1 million.
Okay, wonderful. Nolan, that dinosaur is awesome.
Yeah.
Well done.
Did you do the shark also the other day? The Megadon, Megatron.
I feel like the artistic style is the same.
Yeah, I do. But it's really good. Like
Yeah.
it's something that I'm like, it's elegant and simple, and I couldn't do it.
Nope. And we tweeted about it, so if you hashtag BIOL1070, you'll find it. Okay. Come on in. People still coming in. I feel like there's...
Bring them all.
Yeah.
Lasagna is a cake, a spaghetti cake. That actually makes me want to eat it more. It's spaghetti cake. That's very good.
Oh, that totally changes my view.
Does it make you want it less?
It makes
or
me
more?
want it more.
Spaghetti
Okay.
tacos?
You know what, though? People might not want... so can I talk about Shackleton for a second as we're waiting for folks to come in?
Okay, then I have to talk about the Dairy Wish.
Okay, because somebody's like, who? Oh, okay, so you know how
Picture
Smith...
Kenneth Branagh.
You know how Smith talks about inverts? I can talk about Antarctic exploration history for like days. I wrote a book that included like quite a bit about it.
Where is that book?
I don't know where the book is.
No, like not in our copy. What library holds that book?
Yeah, you can check it out at the library at the university.
You're not answering my question.
Oh my goodness. Yes, I forgot.
I'm throwing you a bone. I'll keep
I
doing
know,
it.
but it's like it's embarrassing. I don't know what to make.
Here's
of
another
this.
bone.
So the Pope has my book, and I don't.
He took it.
No, it was gifted to him by the cultural sort of
Attaché.
minister of culture for Argentina. Gifted it to him, and so he has my book in his library. Oh, I'm sure he's reading it. It's on his night table. Okay, but anyway, Shackleton. This is kind of a big day for me because I've actually been to these places, all of the places in Shackleton's sort of saga of stories. An amazing story about...
Look it up.
Yeah, about leadership and about caring for your crew and about making decisions that are in the best interest of everyone rather than just the best interest of the best. And it's about all of those things because a tragedy happened in Antarctica and all of the people lived. Now, they suffered on Elephant Island, on South Georgia. Like, it's just an epic tale that needs to be told.
Saying it again, even the fact all of the people
All of them survived. I
It's,
think a couple of toes were lost.
it's like the Sully Sullenberger on the Hudson River, except it takes place over months
Yeah.
and thousands of kilometers.
Unbelievable
Like-
story. Yeah, 100 years ago, and they found the ship. Now, it's cool. It's so cool. Not nearly as cool as the finding of the Franklin ships not that long ago. And if you don't know the Franklin story, that's all kind of spooky and kind of mysterious and scary. The amazing thing about Shackleton's story is that it is well documented and well known and epic.
Like they filmed it.
They
Like
literally.
They did.
So anyway.
And then dragged the footage with them.
I know. Unbelievable. Okay.
I'm trying to find to see if it's streaming somewhere.
This Brontosaurus or something, this herbivore.
It looks kind of surprised and sad.
Fantastic. Yep. I love it.
I've got something in my teeth.
Okay. Oh, so a hamburger, is a hamburger on here? A hamburger is also a sandwich? Clearly. I think so. Okay. Folks are still coming in.
I'm surprised about the taco burrito thing.
Me
disagree.
too. Me too. I'm like worried now. Okay. Okay, we'll get started.
Somewhere on the internet, in the dark side or the light side, you can find a mini-series that Kenneth Branagh did about Shackleton. It's good.
It's worth
watching. I don't know if it's good.
It's good. It's definitely good. I Am a Robot. Okay, this dinosaur too is fantastic. Okay, come on in. Okay, now we're gonna get started. Folks are still coming in, but that's fine. And
oh, I know what I wanted to say. Some of you, I don't know if you're here or if you're still out in the dairy bush, but I ran into some of you yesterday, like outside of this square in real life in the dairy bush as you were going about and looking for squirrels.
Doing squirrel walks.
I was wandering around underneath two children looking for moving some trail cameras to catch foxes.
Yeah.
So that was lovely, and it was great to see you in person.
And so Smith comes into the house and tells me this story, and I'm like, tell me more.
And I was like, I was walking uphill and I had children on my shoulders, and
there was not enough detail in the encounter.
I didn't have a lot of detail.
Okay, wonderful.
So if you're here, I enjoyed meeting you in real life, and if Dr. Jacobs had been there, you'd probably still be there chatting.
Fair. Okay.
Did you like that cookie?
That was a good cookie.
Sandwich?
Yeah, the sandwich. Yeah. That was great. I am overloaded with all sorts of little menus. Here we go. We are going to introduce another scale to you. Spatial temporal. Yeah, so we're going to talk about temporal scales today. We will talk a little bit about adaptations to the cold, but first we want to kind of introduce some information about polar bears to you. So we ended off with the hint that maybe we were going to talk more about polar bears, and we definitely are, because awesome.
We talked about it as being like this is the polar bear is kind of the furry lens that we're going to look at a lot of the physiological examples.
Yeah.
Because it's iconic, because it's large.
Because look, there's still blood on his paw.
Now, who took that picture?
Here
comes
me.
Another bone. Now, is that because you're very tall?
Yes, it's because I'm very tall. No. I was leading a small expedition of a bunch of photographers / eclipse enthusiasts who wanted to go as far north as possible in a boat for a particular solar eclipse that they wanted. And I was the expedition leader on this very small little ship that only held 14 people. And we parked it in an ice floe at about 82 degrees north, which is pretty far. That was where the ice edge was at the time. We stayed there for a couple of days, totally missed the eclipse because it was very cloudy. But polar bears were walking by. So I am standing on the deck of the ship. If the polar bear stood up, it could probably, it still might be a little shy of the actual gunnel of the ship. But anyway, yeah. Okay. What will happen to polar bears? How do you know? These are really important questions. And focusing on polar bears is not a bad idea. They're, first of all, charismatic, so people care. The other thing is that they're a top predator. So the idea is that if they can't be sustained, then everything below them can't be sustained. And it's a bit generalist and sweeping because it really does say, oh, we don't really care about most invertebrates, and that's gonna plug this one.
True.
But
most people.
It's a popular approach to conservation. So, focusing on the big megafauna has its limitations, certainly, but also some benefits, right? It's kind of easier to raise money to save the polar bears than the copepods, even though you probably should spend more money saving copepods. Is that fair?
Some of it.
Okay. So what we'd like you to do is to go to www.menti.com and help us figure out what we need to know about polar bears. So the code is 56940031. 569400031 at www.menti.com. Let's create a bit of a word cloud of what it is that we need to know in order to be able to answer the question, what will happen to the polar bears? Thank you. You're already clicking in.
Yeah.
That's great. Super. What?
Thank you, whoever put in the effects on the invertebrates.
That was a gift.
Do you mean a gift? Don't never look a gift horse in the mouth. Never say GIF.
Never say GIF. That was very kind.
That niche of GIF is...
It's right there. I'm following it so that
Yeah.
we keep it. We have an entomologist in the making.
Yep. Never say Jeff, never say Jeff, never say Jeff, never say Jeff, never say Jeff.
Okay, just a few more seconds. If you want to take a look and see what it's looking like. I feel like there is a little bit of consensus and also some variation.
If I'm editing that sentence.
I know.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Let's find a better one.
Let's find a better word. Okay, wait. I have to... So that
Can you tell I've been writing?
So that...
Back.
Yeah, good. Okay, super good. So, quite a few of you have said diet. Some have said prey, so that's fine. That's the same thing. And then the next most popular one is habitat. Then there's what they eat. So these are all diet related. Their diet. Okay, so diet is huge actually. Yep. Because you're saying it in multiple ways using different words, but it's all the same thing. Where is that one about the invertebrates? I don't know where it went. But okay.
Where they hang out.
Where they live. That's habitat. Where they hang out. That's habitat. Super good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So where they hang out, is that the realized or the fundamental niche?
That would be realized.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they hang. Yeah. And in fact, the where they hang has been changing quite a bit lately. I once, went along a beach in a Zodiac that had 21 polar bears. A herd. Like, herds do not exist. But there was a herd of polar bears just hanging out. They weren't feeding off of a whale carcass or anything like that. They were just hanging out. And so, yeah, where they hang out, very different these last couple of decades. Okay, these are all perfect. The answer is yes to all of them. And we really need to know a lot, I hope, was kind of the point of all of this. The hibernation. Ooh, somebody's talking about hibernation. We will talk about hibernation because it is different in polar bears. Okay, super. So we need to know a lot of different things, right? Including, and these are kind of like taking everything that you said and kind of bringing them up into these larger categories and like dividing them up into groups that kind of make our brains happy that they're organized. We can talk about the species biology, so the specific stuff related to the species of life history, the nutritional requirements, reproductive cycle, and their fundamental niche. Then we can talk about the population, so how not just the individual organisms, but like the actual population, the way that they interact as well, their distribution, their abundance, and then their realized niche. That's kind of how we kind of classify them. within. So most of what you've said could fall into some of these things, but some of what you've said is important to note that is not captured here, and that is what's going on with their environment and their habitat. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the environment and their habitat then. So we'll start with that. Here's a sort of an artifact, right? So one of the things that we really want you to be able to do from this, within this course is to look at information and start to infer things, to interpret, to understand it, to make sense of it. So here's some information. We have a distribution map, right? Looking at the world from a bit of a different angle. It's kind of one of my favorite angles. In fact, I have that angle on a map right here above my desk. And it shows the range or the distribution of polar bears, both in terms of where they are more concentrated or where they could also just be, right? And what we'd like you to do is to come up with two conclusions, two inferences that you can make about polar bear biology or population biology based on these bits of information. Okay, so just kind of, we'll give you a few seconds to think. We'll just sit here awkwardly and stare at you.
Playing to my strengths.
No, but yeah, silence. Two things. Okay, and as you're preparing your two things, we're going to ask you to share them. So here you go. Share your ideas in the chat or on this slide. Feel free to go ahead and start doing that.
There's not a lot of room. Let's do it in the chat.
In the chat? Yeah, but maybe not all of them are there.
Ah, that's good.
Okay.
Many are.
They
live around islands and coastal areas. They live in the Arctic. Nope, the Arctic.
The Arctic.
That would be, we would hear them if they were in the attic.
It would be loud. Yeah. What else? Are there any points like on the map that you're focusing on that you want to highlight, that you have questions about?
They live in cold and probably eat aquatic species.
Very good.
They need land to live on and they prefer coastal areas. They eat fish.
Yep.
They like to live near the ice. Cold and coastal. Carnivores. Few plants.
Yep.
Prefer coastal areas. Require water to catch prey. Most near Canada and the Arctic Ocean.
Yeah.
The fundamental niche is larger than the realized niche. Yeah, own that. There's a question mark, but I didn't pronounce it because own that.
Own it.
They live in areas near water.
Very good. Yeah, these are fantastic. Okay,
Yep. Super.
So the population, the total population, it fluctuates, of course, but it's probably around, this has been a number that hasn't been recently updated, but it's hovering around 25,000 polar bears in the world. 15,000, and again, these numbers need to be updated. 15,000 of which probably live within the Canadian sort of territory. And so, yeah, Canada has a huge responsibility in association with, conservation as well as cultural use of the polar bears and the relationships that they have with the people that live in the north.
Yeah, so I think the ratio is probably the same, and the numbers, if the trends in sea ice, the numbers are probably both lower.
Yeah, yeah. But the proportion, in fact, maybe, it depends on how much it's changing in other places, but yeah.
So there's a neat observation here. They rely heavily on coastal sea ice for hunting prey. They can swim, but not well enough to catch aquatic prey.
Super good.
I like that. And I like the idea of thinking about, that makes me immediately think of encouraging our children to think of polar bears as aquatic animals, aquatic mammals.
Yep. Excellent. Okay.
Shaped unlike dolphins and whales.
Yeah, awkwardly blubberous and baggy, but still aquatic nonetheless. Okay, so super important. Now that we have that understanding of where they're located and what they're associated with, right? So it's really important to start looking at the environment and what's going on with the environment. So let's take a look at these data here. Also, 2 conclusions, if you can. Graphs always have tons and tons of information that's kind of, hidden within, or maybe one conclusion is more obvious and another one is less obvious, maybe not. See if you can come up with 2 true statements about what's going on in this graph. And then please feel free to pop them into the chat. We're going to do this a couple of times, again, to kind of get that part of our brain going.
Sea ice seems to be on a downward trend.
Super.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't know if as I look over to the other monitor, I'm like, has everybody been looking at is the y-axis a good y-axis? Like, yeah, the y-axis is a good y-axis.
Yeah.
As time goes on, sea ice decreases.
Yep.
See, I didn't pronounce the question mark because you're right.
Because you're right. What else? Anything else?
Sea ice fluctuates.
Nice.
Yes, that's the other thing.
Love it.
Throughout the year, but overall is decreasing.
Really good. Really good. Okay. Amazing. Amazing. The other thing that you might want to think about too is about this trend line here, this kind of average line, and how many years sort of before 2004 and after 2004, or so what proportion of years it is below that line versus above that line, what the extent is away from that line. 2012 was a weird year anyway. I don't know if you remember 2012, but yeah, it was a weird year.
They were 7 and 8.
I know, but they can remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a weird year for like a whole bunch of us, right? And I was actually in the Arctic.
That's cool.
In 2012. I flew to Guelph in July 28th from Svalbard. Yeah, I remember 2012. There wasn't an ice cube in sight.
I was teaching the Arctic Ecology Field Course in 2012, which takes place in the subarctic, near a lot of polar bear habitat in Churchill, Manitoba. And I remember how hot it was because the smells of fires were everywhere and from the south. And because we swam many nights just off of the bog, just kind of walked into some of the lakes near the field station and swam, which is something I think field courses had done there before that never. Yeah. And I think the reason why I remember it really, really well is because the charter company for our flight to Svalbard lost my luggage. And so I went with no clothes. I went with like jeans and a sweater, and I didn't die. So that was great for me that it was really warm. It's terrible, but it totally saved my butt. Okay. Yeah, so the residuals, not just looking at that trend line, which is where the authors want you to look when they make a nice colored line. So they're telling a story with that colored line. But then you as the reader, just as breaks in the story, as white space in a print, in a piece of fine art, the empty spaces tell the story, the residuals tell you a story as well. The residuals around, the space around that trend to be like, where are most of the years beneath it? Where are most of the years above it? Okay, so going along those lines, the residuals just mean the sort of the actual distance from the trend line, right, of the real points. So like, that's, boop, boop, boop. That line, that vertical line is a residual. So that'd be a positive one, and that'd be a negative one, right? And slightly less negative. Okay, so what year do these residuals really change? The pattern, looking at this graph here, what year would you say like the real difference in these, like the variation from the line really starts? You can stamp it too if you want. Go ahead. It's totally fine. Or you can let us know in the chat what you think. But where things start to get a bit more shifty. Thank you, Ava, for going in there first. Yes. Yeah, you're all good. You know what else happened that year? What? In 2012? No, in 1988. Were you born? No. Never gonna give you up.
Oh.
Never gonna let you down. I rickrolled you on camera.
I got rickrolled. Oh my goodness. So sorry. Okay. Yeah. So 1988-ish. 1989, Marwan wants like precision.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with you because it could be just going down the downward trend.
Never gonna make you smile.
Is really the important moment in this graph. So well done. Okay.
We all had mullets and the climate went bananas.
Yeah. Okay. So physiologically, what will happen to these Arctic adapted individuals? And I mean, the answer is it depends, right? It depends on everything associated with their biology.
I was a decade out. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
That was 88.
Yeah. Okay.
When you're as old as I am, a decade doesn't really matter.
Oh, okay. So we're going to introduce some ideas, right? Oh, this polar bear was walking by my cabin and it was checking out all sorts. I should show you the photos of it, like playing around with our wood pile and stuff. It's really quite cute. And
this is much farther north. This is
this is farther north than Churchill,
yeah.
But not as far north as Svalbard.
Oh,
this
okay.
is Coates Island.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah. It just posed there for me. And I am in the cabin with my camera lens out of the window.
Yeah, so this is not in a great big ice buggy,
No.
like the looking down. This is not on a ship. This is on the ground on an island that is
Yeah.
an airdrop away from safety.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. You're making it sound really...
I keep throwing the bones.
Yeah, thanks. Okay.
It's not a place you would ever want to run into somebody while...
Peeing?
Yeah.
That is a story. But anyway, Arctic plants and animals must cope with temperature change, and they do it at different time scales. In fact, all physiological systems are kind of on this sort of relevant time scale. So we want to introduce it to you now as we think about it in the Arctic, but also as we think about physiology just generally. So here's our time scale. It's kind of like our biological levels of organization or our geographic scales. Here's a time scale that's relevant biologically. We have acute, chronic, and evolutionary, just 3 categories, okay? So, and bear with me, because it depends really what actual time these things are. And so we can't really pinpoint, specific metrics of time because it really just depends on the organism that we're talking about. So when we talk about acute, we're talking about something that's short duration, where there's an acute stimulus and an acute associated response, okay? When we're talking about chronic, that just means longer, so longer duration stimulus and longer duration response. And then when we're talking about evolutionary or generational, we're talking about over many generations, okay? And so there could be some kind of like stimulus that affects multiple generations, and therefore what we would see as the response would also be in the evolutionary scale over multiple generations.
Can I say something here? I like the fact that we're talking about time scales in the physiology unit because it makes me want to reiterate to everyone that we're still bringing those other big pillars, ecology and evolution, along. And so here, as a physiologist now, you're all physiologists now, when we put in this evolutionary multi-generational duration, that of course is also the ecological time scale.
Yep.
So it's kind of a melding of different perspectives through time. But for a physiologist to think about time, it's like immediate and evolutionary, and evolutionary bridges those other 2 categories that we spent a long time talking about.
Yeah, I'm worried about okay, we're good.
The batteries?
Batteries, yep. To keep an eye on the batteries. Okay. So here's to kind of get you thinking about what that might look like physiologically. An acute would be immediate and sort of temporary responses. So now we're not talking about stimuli, we're talking about the responses. So for example, if it gets really cold, we may start to shiver. We're not going to be able to shiver for the rest of our lives or even for a season. So it is an acute response, right? It only has so long of a duration. Chronic is also called acclimation or acclimatization. And then some folks, and this can be confusing, so that's why we want to highlight it, also use the word adaptation, but we like to use adaptation when we talk about evolution. You may see it, though, in the physiological literature, not associated with the evolution of an adaptation, but they may talk about an individual adapting, right? Like putting on a coat. That for us would be acclimation or acclimatization, but just to kind of highlight that there is that overlap of the use of that word. And so we can talk about basically the adjustment of set points in relation to prolonged changes. And the best way that I can think about describing a difference in set point is about us as we go through the seasons. So if you think about what it was like in October when the weather started to, if you're in sort of a seasonal place, as the weather started to change. So if you're in the northern hemisphere, it started to get colder. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it probably started to get warmer. But just think about how you felt in October compared to, even at the same temperature, compared to how you felt in March or like on Sunday. Yeah. Sunday it was 14 degrees, right? Some of you, I bet, were in shorts. And I'm
almost certainly.
I'm not sure that all of you would have felt that way about that 14-degree weather in October, for example.
Or August. I think that's the great, like, compare and contrast how happy you were.
Yeah.
And how your set points have changed with the 14-degree forecast that happens in August.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, give me another sweater and a toque, and I'm not going to the water today.
Yeah.
Versus last weekend when you're like, clothes off.
Yeah.
Vitamin D up. Let's go.
Exactly. So yeah, I was in my pajamas on the front porch sitting there just hanging out with my son talking because it felt like it was the middle of the summer. Yeah. Right? Okay. Good. So that's what kind of a set point change or adjustment might be like. And then evolutionary, we're talking about the selection for traits and the selection of random mutations that are beneficial in the context of some kind of environmental pressure. So it's really multi-generational and it happens very slowly over evolutionary time. So if we tried to like put numbers to things, and what I'd love for you to do is to think about why we are so cautious about doing that. So we have duration here. Why is it making us uncomfortable to like tell you acute is minutes to hours, chronic is weeks to years, and then, multiple generations, that one's easy. But why is it challenging for us to put in actual durations here? What do you think is kind of...
Throw that in the chat.
Yeah, or on the slide is fine too. Yeah.
That's exactly where I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah.
Depends on the lifespan. Two different ways of answering that or saying that exact kind of thought.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike. Some organisms have shorter lifespans. Again, no question mark.
Yeah.
Depends on the lifespan of the species. Everything is personalized.
Customized.
Personalized physiology.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yes. Yeah. Totally. Right.
So to the copepod, duration is very quick as compared to the Arctic fox or the polar bear.
That's right. So it's really difficult, and it totally depends on each of the different species, right?
Does it depend again?
It depends all the time. Okay. Let's talk about...
Celebrate Rick Mercer.
Let's celebrate Rick Mercer.
I mean, we don't have him on TV every week anymore, and haven't for a little while. He's got a book that came out at Christmas time if you want to support him. But this is Rick Mercer learning about physiology at the University of Manitoba.
It is the mandate of this show to ask questions that have never been answered, to answer questions that perhaps should be left unanswered. It's a dangerous job, but it's the job that we have before us. And today, I ask the most loaded, dangerous question of them all. When it comes to weather in this country, who are the toughest city folk? I'm saying Winnipeg. And we're gonna get mail on this one. Why won't you talk to us? What is this about?
This?
Middle of November, look at it.
I know.
Airport closed.
You could expect this at any time in Winnipeg, and it's not really that bad.
Look at all this snow. It's the middle of November.
We're tough.
How come you're wearing shoes and not boots?
I don't have boots. I got dress shoes.
You don't have boots?
No.
Don't have a hat? No.
Winnipeg just refused to accept reality.
Winter in Winnipeg, it slows the mosquitoes down.
Who's the toughest Winnipegger?
Dr. Popsicle. Dr. Popsicle.
Who the heck is Dr. Popsicle?
He's at the U of M. He's a prof. He survived the northern rigors of Lake Winnipeg.
And now I'm here in the lab with Dr. Popsicle, Professor Popsicle.
That's what they've called me at times. My name is Gordon Giesbrecht. Welcome to the lab.
Hello, Gordon. Thank
How are
you.
you?
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. So I've been on the streets of Winnipeg, and a number of people have said you're the toughest Winnipegger.
Well, I don't know about that, but I've probably been colder than most people.
What do you do?
have been. Well, we study how people respond to cold water, sometimes ice cold water.
That's your job.
That's what we do.
So students pay to study with you, and then you give them hypothermia. Is that the idea?
Actually,
Have you given any students hypothermia?
Oh yeah, many. Yes.
But that's
Hundreds.
very painful.
It is painful, and that's why we actually pay them.
Oh, how much do they get paid? A lot?
$100 each time they come, because we deal with temperature all the time.
Hello. What's that?
We generally want to know what's happening with people's core temperature.
Oh no. $100.
It's not looking like so much money anymore, eh?
No.
We normally stick this in the nose, and it goes in behind, down the esophagus
Oh,
to
well,
the heart, and then we get an idea of what heart temperature is. Okay.
Okay. Can I close my eyes? Okay. Is it?
Okay, now you just stick that in. And you just start. Ah, perfect. Nicely done. Now, if you could hold on to that, please, because we wouldn't want to lose that. We've got to put this on.
Oh. Did you shovel out this morning?
No, I actually have someone do it for me.
You don't like shoveling?
Well, I'm not big on it.
No. Too cold? What's that beeping noise?
That is your heart beating.
That's beeping too fast, don't you think?
Yeah.
Are you trained
yeah.
in CPR?
Yes.
You are.
And we actually have a defibrillator over there, so that's really...
Why would you have a defibrillator, sir? You really have a defibrillator?
Safety first, yeah. We do.
Well, that makes me feel so much better. Beep, 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 beep. Okay, no. No, that's plenty.
That's good.
Plenty of ice.
No, not this. Relax.
Has anyone ever got stuck in the winch?
No.
No, because that would be a relief at this point.
Put your feet in the water, here we go. Put your feet in the water. Here we go. Thank you. Thank you. Here we go.
I'm on fire. Why am I on fire? Why is it a fire feeling?
Because the receptors on your skin are now being very cold and
Why
they're
can't
just
I hear?
firing off.
Why can't I hear my heart?
It's still working.
Okay, and how am I helping mankind and Canadians who fall through the ice in future? Please, quickly, sir.
Well, what we tell people is this is the cold shock you've just gone through. And if you were in ice water, you would be hyperventilating and gasping.
But I'm not, because I'm calm, because I'm brave.
Yes, yes. And we
Because I'm
tell-
brave.
Would you mind if I put some just a little more ice in here? Is that okay?
Yes. No.
Thank you.
What's that? Okay. Oh, gee, it's dropping. It's like, that's unbelievable.
If you could quickly get to some
I
place where
think
you
my
can warm
penis is actually inverted. I mean, I've had shrinkage before, but I think this has gone beyond shrinkage.
up. So would you like to get warmed up now?
No, I'm good. Yes.
Here we go.
Okay. Feet up. Now what? No, what is this?
This is warm water.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's hot.
Are you smiling?
Oh, yeah, that's good.
That's good.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh, that's good. Thank you very much. Winnipeg's toughest dude.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming to the lab.
Thank you. I'll never do it again.
Yay.
Oh, Rick Mercer.
Oh, Rick. Yeah. Anyway, so acute.
He is acute.
Well, but that's an acute exposure, right? Short duration, short reaction. Everything's fine after he gets dropped into the warm water pool, right? Okay. Let's move. Here we go. I'm just gonna, this is a polling question, so just give me another second, but you can read it and get ready.
No, close your eyes.
Close your eyes.
Close your
Don't
eyes.
look. No. Just give me a sec. I'll get it up. Here we go. Lunch.
You're off your
Oh, yeah.
chair again.
It's okay.
Was that this year?
I think so.
I think it was last year.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Just another few more seconds.
Are we going to hit 200? I think we're going to hit 200.
Yep. Oh,
We will.
we will. Two more of you.
Two
more of you. Come on. Oh, one
One more.
Somebody. Yay!
Hey.
Thank you. Okay, share results. Okay, so here's the thing, and it's totally fine. I mean, obviously, we just started talking about these moments ago. The idea for Rick, given that he's a human, and that Winnipeg has variable temperatures, right? It isn't cold all the time. It's only cold during the winter months. Now, if you're living in Winnipeg, you might beg to differ.
Yeah.
But the idea, of course, would be to find something that is cold exposure in a chronic kind of a way, and so without it being evolutionary, but also without it being just a repeat of the acute, right? So the answer here is Rick would have to move to Winnipeg, right? And the cold bath every 5 minutes for every day for 5 minutes is a repeat of an acute. There may be a difference in set point, like there may be some kind of chronic effects, but the idea though is that it's seasonality for Rick that would really be the chronic exposure to cold over time. And that the repeat, like it would be, like I'm not sure if that's like a repeat acute, and I don't see it as a chronic thing because he would still shiver, still have those same types of responses. Maybe if he did it like forever, but yeah. But anyway, the more appropriate one is certainly just moving to Winnipeg and experiencing those cold temperatures over an extended period of time that do change your set points, that do have these sort of chronic responses.
And you get to feed mosquitoes in the summer.
Yay. Okay. So, if
that's the case,
having a bath in cold water is acute, if moving to Winnipeg is chronic, what would be an equivalent for generational? What would Rick have to do in order for it to be a generational or evolutionary exposure?
on the screen or in the chat.
Yep.
Have kids in Manitoba. His
Yeah.
kids also moving to Winnipeg for, yep,
Super. Good.
that's right.
Yep. Move to the poles and have have babies there. Sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. It would have to be this like
Yep.
multiple generations over time adaptation to living in this cold environment, right? I like the idea of moving to the poles, though. That would be a different set of circumstances, a different set of adaptations. So yes, super, where it's cold all the time. Good. Grandchildren, babies. Yep. There you go. And of course, there would have to be selection and mutations that are happening and adaptation, right? Super. Well done. Okay. So, how does this matter? how do we bring it down even further to understanding, why are we talking about humans in the Arctic or humans in a lab in Winnipeg being exposed to cold? How does that apply to fish, for example, that are experiencing temperature changes in their environment? How does that apply to the polar bear that's experiencing temperature changes in the sort of air environment? Not really terrestrial, also aquatic, but certainly different, different medium and different levels of exposure. What else really matters? And so what we'll do over the next couple of classes is introduce some vocabulary and some concepts and terms of things that can hopefully allow you to understand sort of the differences, the way that, for example, a fish or other organisms like a fish may react differently than something like a human or a polar bear, or like those things. And so we can come up with a whole bunch of it depends based on these categories. And we'll pick that up next time. Yeah?
It's a good question in the chat. Would it also count if he moved his parents and his grandparents to Winnipeg? And I would argue not, unless he did it with a time machine and then changed his province of birth as well.
Yeah.
Because you have to have the selection through time as well. So
That's
generational and the selection of the environment.
Yeah, and when we talk about generational, we don't just mean like 1 or 2 generations. We're talking about thousands of them. Yeah. Cool. Okay.
Good question.
Yeah, great question. So we're done a couple minutes early, but thank you so much. And we will just turn it off for a minute, and we'll start the student hour almost right away, because I actually have to run a little bit early.
We both do.
So we'll shut it down a bit early, but we'll have a few more minutes here if you have any questions or anything for us. And thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, and if not, take care of each other.
Care of yourselves.
Continue taking care of each other, because things continue to be tough for everyone, whether you can tell it is or not.
I hope you can't. Take care.